What the heck? What is regenerative gardening? Hi there. I'm Patti. I'm with Regenerative Gardening with Patti. That's me. Today, I would like to talk about what is regenerative gardening. I mean, maybe you've heard about regenerative agriculture, but there's not too many people talking about regenerative gardening. So let's start with Webster. What does regenerate mean? So there was a whole variety of things that it could mean from Webster, but I took restored to a better, higher, or more wealthy state. So that's what I'm thinking. So when I think regenerative, that means that we're going to do it over and over and over. So once we get to that state of being better than we was, or even restored to the original properties, boy, where I live here in Montana, that would be remarkable if we could restore to the original properties. That would be a major understatement. That would be a lofty goal. But regenerative, to me, means that we're going to improve those soils to get to a state where we're constantly getting a little bit better. At least we're not degenerating, right? Most people's soils are degenerating. So if our soils are degenerating, there's no way that we can reach to a higher level of plant nutrition, which that's also my goal, right? My goal is to eat nutritious, highly dense, nutritious food, and I'm going to grow it. And with this channel, I'm going to bring you along with what I've already learned in my lifetime and what current practices are. And what I've seen, I've helped a lot of other people get to a regenerative state with their gardening. So what regenerative gardening is going to do is follow some principles. So I'm going to share those principles with you right now. And they're kind of the key, right? You can't take one principle out and think, oh, this is working well. Might for a little while, but it's not going to over the long haul. So you want to think, I'm going to use all these principles. And there's a lot of room for flex, let's call it. Okay, but we're going to start with the first one. The very first one is context. Because let's say my garden is in a backyard and it's heavy clay soil. In Montana with the 8.3 pH. 8.3 is like seawater if you don't know. That's like crazy high salts. And you may be in a sandy loam and you're struggling to get to a 6 pH. Or you may be in a great situation and you have 6.8 or something pH, right? But everybody's context is different. It's not only just the soil's context or my environment, my place. I'm here just south of the Canadian border. I'm really high on the continent in North America. So those are context. How many hours I want to spend gardening is context. How much, for me, I want the plants to work for me. I don't want to work for them. So that's a different context than the person that's wanting to spend a lot of time out in the garden and making sure every plant is in its perfect place and all of that. So those are all different contexts. So that's super important. So if somebody says, hey, can you help me? I appreciate all the comments, and I am swimming through them to try to get back to most of you. In the comments, so you may say, well, how can you help me with X with regenerative? I need to know what X is, or otherwise I probably can't help you. So context, super important. Second one, and these are in no particular order, but they are kind of in my preferential order, right? Cover. We have to have cover on the soil. Nature and soil do not do well with uncovered soil. It's just, it's a given. We've got to keep that soil covered up. If you could see these plants, they've got a mulch in there, right? They're covered. This kale, this soil is covered, right? Super, super important. So cover. Diversity, I'm going to put next because I know we can't get to that higher level of nutrition in our food without diversity. And we're talking about diversity not only of plants, but diversity of the roots, the structure of plants, the plant families, all kinds of diversity. That's what we're talking about with diversity. Another one is reducing disturbance. Now you think, oh gosh, she's going to say something about my tilling habit, right? But tilling is only one disturbance. There are several disturbances. So in certain situations here on the High Line, up on right on the Rocky Mountain front, their disturbance is wind. That we have to cut down the wind to be successful. Other disturbances is adding on man-made products. Yeah, let's not get into that in this video. If you're following me on my channel, you'll see that we're going to start kind of helping you with each of these things. But don't add things that you don't need. And I don't know if there's human nature to add. If it worked with a little bit, we're adding lots more. Well, in this case with plants, that's not the answer. So reduce disturbance. Doesn't say take everything away, but it does want to reduce. Reduce if you're going to have to till. I haven't thought of too many ways or why you would till, but if you thought you had to, you would not do it deep. You would just do a surface layer. The next one is keeping a live root. So this means living plants in the system. You're like, oh geez, this is an annual vegetable garden. I'm not going to keep a live plant out there. Well, we need live plants out there. And they can be in your walkway, or they can be under your plants. Thyme, if you could see, which you can't, this bed's loaded with thyme, right? There's thyme in this planter back here. I stick thyme in underneath all kinds of things. It's a perennial plant. And here in this wonderful climate that we're having, unheard of, warm winters, thyme's doing fantastic, right? It's just one example. We want to have living roots in the ground. If you think of my prairie system, they had hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of perennial plants out there in the system that helped that build those gorgeous soils that we pretty much destroyed and continue to destroy. Okay, so that's the living root. And you'll see in future videos kind of how to do that. Or I can give you recommendations of other videos of how they're doing that. The next one is integrating livestock or animal impact. All right, so that doesn't mean that we're going to bring somebody's cows through the garden, or we're going to turn the pigs loose in the garden, or that's not necessarily what we need in gardening or what we think of in gardening. So think of the insects and the worms and inviting in the seasonal birds, the migratory birds through. And I don't mean a goose or a sandhill crane. There's other little birds, right, that come in. So I offer plants that are standing in the garden in the late summer for those birds. So I welcome them. That's integrating the livestock. I also think these are, if you've noticed, these are a lot of the soil health principles. But there's one that I like to add in that isn't necessarily a principle for soil health. It is, I think, a principle for regenerative, and that is always be learning and being very observant. We need to be observant because I'm going to teach you. Your plants can do a lot of this work for you. We just got to know the signals of what's the gardener's role in helping that plant do a better job. So always be learning. If you've watched some of my videos, never plant a naked seed, right? That there's a biology to go with that seed. So that's one thing that I think needs to be added to this. It isn't necessarily what they're using in a garden that's already regenerated, right? A garden that's already doing really, really well. I don't have to make this recommendation. But the percentage of those gardens that I can think of are very, 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 very tiny, right? So the majority of us, we still need to be adding in that biology. Those are soil microbes into this planting area or on the seed at planting time or transplant time, and for sure on a tree root ball. Oh my gosh, I don't know how many trees are planted naked. They should not be, right? So those are the principles. That's what regenerative gardening is we're working with those principles to gain, to restore to a better, higher level. And I think it should be better after I've used it. And it should be better for the next generation. And for the next generation after that, and after that, to the next centennial, to the next bicentennial, on and forever. That it should be improved and able to be passed down to the next generations. That's what I think is regenerative, and that's what I'm going to be helping you do. Thanks for visiting, and as always, if you're a subscriber, you are awesome. Thank you. Pat yourself on the back. Appreciate that. And if you are one of my regulars, you'll know she's got something more to give me here at the end. And I guess the very first thing I would do if I was starting regenerative, and I just decided today I'm going to start regenerative. The first thing you got to be thinking of, I got to get rid of the compaction. I got to fix my compaction problem first, because we can do all of these things and eventually the compaction would work, get better. But if we're already compacted and we're just compounding compaction, it's going to take a long time to do these things. So compaction we have to address, and we will in a future video. Okay.